can I go when the shadows are calling? Shadows are calling me. What can I do when it's pulling me under? Pulling me underneath. It's getting close. I lose control. It's taking over. I'm slipping into the deep end. I'm in over my head. I can't catch my breath. I'm slipping into the deep end. Feel the current within. I can't help but give in. Like lead in my veins. Darkness is sinking. Darkness is sinking me. Commanding my soul. I am under the surface, where the blackness burns beneath.
Good evening, lords and ladies, and welcome to the Behind the Fang podcast. I'm your host, DJ Craigie, with my amazing wife and co-host, Ming Chow Neapolitan Wu. We're honored here to introduce our special guest, Lady Pegasi Eldritch Kadrama. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here
Welcome
and
to
finally
Behind
to
the
have met
Fang.
both of you.
Yes, it's awesome to meet you. You come highly recommended. And thank you so much for doing this interview with us tonight.
Definitely. I've heard a lot, so please introduce yourself to the community and tell us about your current role in Progeny.
All right. Well, my name is Pegasi Eldritch Kadrama, and I am in the Eldritch bloodline and was formerly in Eldritch clan of Eldritch bloodline, and now
Very cool.
am. So I was a proxy in Eldritch clan, and then we just recently moved over to a clan called Dardendrium, and
Cool.
I am the ambassador there. So we are still within the Eldritch bloodline. So we're still part of the same family, and my sovereign is Xena Eldritch Draco.
Oh, I've met her. That's very cool.
Yeah, she is an amazing person. And she is also my sire.
Awesome. Congratulations on being ambassador. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Yes, for such a younger vampire, congrats. Like, that's awesome.
I appreciate that. It's just a lot of work, so
Mhm.
Yes, it is. Definitely. So, well, very good. Very impressive. So, now tell us how you came to be, quote unquote, one of us. One of us. Tell us about your embrace and your sire, your family. Anything you'd like to share?
Basically, your whole welcoming to the dark, to the shadows, you know.
The dark side. How'd you get onto the dark side?
well, there is quite a story for that, but I promise to keep it short. So basically, I was in Bloodlines, and technically, I'm still alive, but I don't practice it because the thing about that system is it was so you always had to get permission to engage in battle with someone. And the thing about PV is that I heard at the time is that, hey, you don't need permission. You just do it. You just go after someone wherever they are, whatever they're doing, or if they're just completely not there. It's like, you know what? There's your next meal. Go at it.
Just take
And
them out.
exactly, like I felt like Um, so there are no limits, but of course, there are laws, and I respect those laws. And
Mhm.
I try to follow my own code when fighting someone. However, it's still like, you could be shopping and someone jumps on you and starts a fight, or vice versa. And I love that about PV.
Well, it gives you
And
that rush, right?
yes, absolutely. See, in Bloodlines, I couldn't find that. It was just kind of like, okay, I can do a move, great. In Bloodlines, it's like you have to survive, or you
Mhm.
have to really want something and take it and destroy it, or let it live, or just decide right there in the spot how are you going to deal with this, you know?
Well, and
And
exactly, and even like much like real life, if you pick a fight, you better prepare to fight.
absolutely, absolutely, there is always that rush, and I find it to be amazing. And even though there is also age limits, or there's different ages, different strengths in those age, it's really fascinating to me because even if you pick the largest person in the crowd, it's like, or oldest in this case,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. There's that rush.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. If anything, it makes it even scarier because the likelihood that you're going to win that fight,
Is a
probably
lot
not.
lower.
Right, right.
But,
Well,
So,
depending on their
and as
skill
a
level.
typhoon
So,
myself, I mean, I've had like younger vampires hold their own with me, and it's not uncommon anymore. Like if you practice hard enough, you can definitely get good and be able to, hold your own. You mean you like you said, you might not always win. I mean, my bite's pretty tough. But
like that.
if you know how to handle yourself, you'll last a lot longer than one that doesn't?
Oh, absolutely. And I totally agree. It's a lot of it is in the style, the training, and practice, and having a good teacher as well.
Yep, definitely.
absolutely. Skill.
And once you get into it, practice, 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 it's second nature. I mean, when I started, I used to sit there at Voice Island with an old friend of mine, Turtle, and we used to hang out and just fight as much as we could. And, it paid off in the long run.
Oh, absolutely. The more practice you get, the better. So it's like in any battle situation, the more experience you gain, the more experience towards the more higher chances of victory.
Well, yeah, and you learn how to fight as a team and just so many different aspects. I'm hooked, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
So we hear you have your very own radio cast and like that you created for your bloodline. I'd love to hear about it. And as well, congratulations. That's awesome. I have a radio myself and it's a lot of work.
Yes, it is absolutely a lot of work. Um, so basically, I had a thought, and because we have a newspaper specialist in our bloodline, and she does the newspaper for everyone there. And my idea was, why don't we create a podcast for the bloodline and take a lot of what is in our articles, and actually put it over the radio for others to listen to. And even thought about, well, hey, we can even have live interviews, and then we could even have stories be played back. And we pretty much did everything in there. It was just incredible because you get to voice it out, you get to play it out, and everyone gets to hear it. It's very amazing.
Well, and as a fan of audiobooks myself, that just sounds awesome. So congratulations. Like I hope
Yes,
to tune in one day.
congratulations.
And I
Thank
was
you.
actually speaking to my wife about doing something similar with our we have our own series, the Coffin Chronicles, so something like that. So
Oh,
that's
that's
very cool.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very inspiring to us. So now is just your bloodline able to hear this radio cast, or can the community tune in somewhere to hear it?
Well, at the moment, it's just for the Bloodline community. Um,
Oh,
but
cool.
we will have access for some other activities that we may promote that will be accessible to others outside the Bloodline. But
That sounds
we're just kind of
amazing.
we're just kind of trial running a little bit with the radio within the Bloodline. Because one of the other things is, since I own the service to it, um, basically I had to actually put together virtual machines and have
Hmm.
an outsourced resource. Actually, I have one of my resources outside the network are actually in Canada, and
That's awesome.
yeah, and we use that for all of our broadcasting. So, but I have to build like the machines and whatnot for people who want to have like a virtual machine with all the songs and the radio stuff, commercials for their own group or parcel. So it's been interesting. So because I
Well,
could
it's a
do
lot
that,
more
I was
work
like,
than
hey,
people give it credit for, because I actually looked into doing that myself, and then
yeah.
here I am paying for mine. So
Well, yeah. I
I
mean,
feel
it's
you.
yeah. There's always different levels, different stages, different things you can do with that, and it's totally understandable. But it's worth it. It
Hmm.
gives you that experience. It gives you that rush, that fun you can have with it, and others can come to appreciate it, which I
Mhm.
am very sure that this is an amazing show you have. And if you're having fun doing it, why not just keep doing it? You're not hurting others. In fact, if anything, you're enlightening others. I feel because
Well,
they get to hear
exactly.
what's going on and get to have a
There's
little fun with it.
there's no greater feeling too when your radio's rocking and people are listening and enjoying themselves. It's
Yeah,
just a great feeling.
absolutely.
Definitely. Well, that sounds really amazing. So we look forward to hopefully one day being able to tune in and hearing some of your stories, your radio. So now, as a fairly new vampire coming into Progeny, um, coming against these well-versed, established, very intimidating characters, some of them, how did you feel when you first come into Progeny, and what has inspired you the most since you've joined?
Well, so basically, when I came into Progeny, um, we had a bit of an interesting start. Um, my wife and I, we both came into Progeny at the same time, I believe, and we had a journey. Let's just say, our first sire was Nika Nova.
Okay.
Oh, an old friend. I know her. Cool.
Yes, yes, and some months later, we ended up going to her mother, which her sire, which her name is Xena Eldritch Draco.
Hmm.
We went under there with her, and we have been with her ever since, and still are. Um, However, though, I have my own house. I have evolved within the clan of Eldritch, and then later we obtained our own clan to Dardendrian,
Hmm.
and I moved up even further. So it was just the experience is very unique because I take ownership with the clan that I am involved in. Where before um, it was kind of like I was that gear cog. You just found a place to fit into when you were needed to fit in there.
Hmm.
In this situation, this is like, well, we got to think together. We have to work on these issues together. We have to kind of think outside the box a little bit and bring newer ideas and take more action. That's kind of the position of where I'm in right now. But it's
Mhm.
fun. It's absolutely great. So,
It
Well,
sounds like
and
it.
you know, that's just the best way. I agree. And the more you grow, it makes the game so much more fun, I think, as it's something to not only work for, but to be proud of. So,
oh yes, and my sovereign Xena, she is a wonderful teacher, and she inspires me every day that I am involved here,
mhm.
and the community even so. We are very active, and everyone communicates on a daily basis. I check into Discord several times each day just to say hello, see how things are going. Um, if we can answer any questions for anyone, and I'm still learning as well. So there's things that I'm learning. Um, but no matter what, there's always someone there to answer and help.
That
And
sounds very good.
I find it very inspiring to be where I'm at and with who I am
Absolutely.
with. Yeah.
So, was there any like intimidating characters? You don't have to say any names, but like where like, do you hear hear something about so and so, or I mean, as a new vampire coming in, were you like, oh, I gotta watch out for that person or something like that?
Yeah, I have a funny way of handling things when it comes to um, some of those characters and entities. Some of them I feel like challenging and maybe
Mhm.
not direct sense of vampire on vampire kind of thing, but sort of in the mind, if you will.
Intellectually, right?
Yes, and very
Mhm.
intellectual. And it
Mhm.
kind of becomes a like, I'm a little curious. I want to know more, and I just try to understand, some of these ways that people
Mindsets,
think.
right?
Yeah, some of the mindsets that people are in, and it helps me understand what's happening around me.
Oh,
And
definitely.
especially if there's like a problem between others, I try to understand both sides of the story as well.
Yeah.
And I think some of the more intimidating at the time when I was really new was, running into a sovereign or running into an arch, and it's just like, wow, what do you how do you react to that?
Well, it's
Yeah,
You
it's
almost
like
like being
starstruck.
yes, I was
Oh,
just gonna
thanks.
say, like, she got it. I was gonna say it's like
Yeah.
almost like you're starstruck. I remember the first time I met an
oh
arch when I
yes.
was, like,
Yeah.
just a baby vampire, and I was like, "Wow, that's an arch. What do
Yeah.
I do? I gotta
Yeah.
watch out."
Oh
It's
yeah.
very
When I first came in to PV, speaking to an arch is like, I be undead and walking around uh, talking to an arch, or should I just simply just be very, very quiet and listen?
Yeah.
Um,
I just
that was
basically show respect, and
absolutely, absolutely.
a lot
You
of them
should
are
always
very
be
cool.
right, right. You should always be polite and just open-minded, because I've heard so many good things. I've heard so many bad things said about a number of people. And the thing is, it's not always the same story. Now, a lot of it is, but I mean, there are some situations where they may be just simply misunderstood.
Mhm.
And
yes. That's a good
and for
word.
me,
Misunderstood.
yeah, yeah. And the thing is that for me, to this day, I'm still intimidated when I am next to, let's say, like when I met Oberon.
Oh
I didn't
yes, the
quite
Empyrean.
Aperion, yes. I was standing really close to him at this dance party. It was a ball, I believe,
Mhm.
and I was just like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" I, I said hello, Lord, Aperion, but it was just like, oh my gosh, I was just like, he was just sitting there floating in the sky with his robes on, and I was just like, I'm like 10 feet from him. I was
You
just
don't
kind
know.
of struck.
You didn't know what
Really
to do,
is.
right?
It's starstruck. It's like, can I have your autograph for Parian for real?
I-
That's how I
Yeah.
felt. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And it was funny because my arch, um, she was just making fun of me of how I was so starstruck because she was over there on the other side of the room just watching. And I'm just like, oh my god, oh my god. um, which is interesting. It's very interesting because shortly after that night, when we met, actually, or actually, I met with Domino, Lord Eldritch. I'm sorry, Lord. I'm sorry. I'm cutting into myself here. Uh, Lord Diabolic Domino.
Mhm.
I ran into him right after I ran into the source,
Oh,
and
wow.
I was in pure shock because I came to the
That's very big figures.
yes. I don't know exactly how it happens, but it seemed like movement in the universe, if you will. It was the strangest thing because I had went to someone because I wanted to fight. I wanted a rush, and I got that rush, right? Um, and I came back to the progeny land, and I was actually just gonna buy some stones, right? I like to collect those, if you will.
Yeah.
Actually, I needed another egg, is what I needed. And when I was doing so, I saw, hey, there's someone over here, and then there was another, person in the vending area, in the vendors area. So I walk over, and I see it was the source. It was the source. Yeah, it was the source just working on the vendors, and I was like, I was losing it so bad, but I was strictly professional. I said, hello, Lord, Source, Lashil, and I even kneeled and I stayed kneeled on the ground. I didn't even get up, and I think I said it again in voice. And he just
Mhm.
kind of stared at me for a second because he actually turned and looked at me, and 20 seconds later, he poofed somewhere.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah,
I
that's a
was,
common experience with myself. So,
it's
you know, it's like
right.
a trademark, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was like I was in aftershock at that point, and then just like a minute later, um, Lord Diabolic Domino just walks right in, and we start talking. I said, "Yeah, I just saw the art or the source," and he was like, "Oh yeah, that happened to me one time," and I was like, "Oh wow." So, and then from there, I found myself here, which is the strangest, but yet purpose. It felt like it had a lot of purpose that day.
Well, and I mean, interaction interactions like that are key.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So, like, and once you get to know who's who within the system, it
Yeah,
really makes it easier to, like, even know which direction you want to take yourself and who to speak to and how to get there. So, those moments, I remember when I first met him, I was kind of starstruck myself way back when, like, he had just released the Halloween skulls. Do you remember that, my wife?
Yes, I do.
It was just, yeah, it's a. So I wanted to ask, these creepy stories you write for your radio cast, how do you come up with the idea? Like, and like where can we find them eventually?
Well, that's actually a really good question. So I basically I do a lot of research and collection of some pretty dark data related to uh, H.R. Giger, for example, and Ridley Scott. I am such
Okay.
a film fan and artist that they both have inspired me because the stories that you can create with those is just amazing. And
Well, didn't one of them work on Alien, I believe? Like
yes,
that was
they
one
both
of my
did.
favorite movies.
Absolutely, they both did. For me, the year of 1997, or I'm sorry, not 1997, 1979 is like the best year ever. That's when the Alien movie came out, and it made the most sense because, the way Ridley Scott made that film was incredible. And H.R.
Yeah,
Giger was the
definitely.
one that designed the imagery for the monster, for the creature. And if you look more in its art, there's so much more behind that art. And I feel, even as us being vampires, that there are numerous things that we kind of share. And I have been inspired by I've been inspired by those two individuals because I myself have made film in the past. I want to get back into it, but I thought, well, you know what? Maybe with the radio that we have in our bloodline, I can write some of these stories,
Hmm.
related to experiences as vampires, and then just integrating a little bit of a more intricate story, and even mix that side of the universe as well.
That would
Because
be futuristic and pretty awesome, I think.
Very
actually,
cool. Yes.
actually, there is one story I did hear about, and I don't know if anyone knows who Vampira is. Yeah,
Vampira. Yes.
Vampira, yes.
Hmm.
Um, there's a story where they talk about, where they depict ancient vampires on Mars. I know that's kind of far out there, but vampires from Earth made it to Mars at some point, and then apparently there was xenomorphs as well. So when you combine them, you had this crazy, crazy, horrific, just horrifying story where you have Vampira and you've got these monsters fighting each other. And because they're fighting amongst vampires and xenomorphs, there's going to be that intersect where now you have a stronger alien. And it's just really, really interesting. It brings a lot of questions, and it kind of makes it more entertaining as well. So now you
Yeah.
have
Absolutely.
both monsters mixed together into even more horrific. So,
And anything
um,
basically goes, so
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, maybe they were trying to escape the vampire apocalypse, the pandemic, and they mutated and into this hideous monstrosity, and they're very powerful. Yeah, I can dig that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Especially when Vampira gives birth to one herself. So,
Yes.
and she survives
oh, I
it
like it.
because, well, she's immortal. So,
Right. She's
yeah,
very almighty powerful. So, new
exactly.
species is born to the dark. All right.
Yeah.
Sounds much like the Zerg.
Right.
No, it's
Well,
not.
some species are naturally born from the dark, so yeah, those bring some interesting equations, interesting
It
things to the
does.
table. You get some fun results.
It's very entertaining. Quite the mutation.
Yes, absolutely. So those are some of the things that inspire some of the stories that I've written, and um, also dreams. I incorporate a lot of things to create a story. So, and even some experiences in SL in PV as a vampire. Um, some of the battles I've had, some of the conflicts I've had with other enemies have been like kind of an interesting perspective. So when you mix it all together, it creates a stronger story.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. That's what I
Gives
do.
me
I take a
to
lot of
relate
my
to.
experiences from Second Life and I
Yeah,
morph them into my stories. So yeah, that's really cool. It has a lot of meaning. It's meaningful.
absolutely.
So now, as ambassador of your clan, what duties do you get assigned on a day-to-day basis? I know you talked about checking in on Discord, making sure everything's going okay, but what else do you have to do on a daily?
Well, there's a lot of planning. I have to pay a lot more attention to what's going on in the bloodline as well, and relaying a lot of that information to our clan. And then also try to invoke more communication with the family. Um, Sometimes I try to initiate activities, for studying, for learning. We do have classes, and my house provides a class for ethics, which is kind of interesting because we don't always practice the type of ethics that we teach, but we try to stick to it as much as we can. And just kind of think about when you fight something, it's kind of like, okay, well, there are these manners in a sense when you communicate or you fight or both, and what you
Well,
would say. Yeah. It's like that was a good fight, and you part, or you fight till the death, one of the two. But you don't go and say, oh, this is terrible, or you're terrible, or whatever. That was a
you
wasteful, trashy fight. No, it's like, no, it was a good fight. Even if it was a bad fight, it was a good fight. You
yeah,
know,
you give the good game and you leave gracefully, if
yes,
possible.
yes. And kind of the same when you approach a fight. You know, if someone's at the store, I generally don't mess with them, but I mess with them a little psychologically, communicating with them to see where their mind is at. If they just want a shot, they want to be left alone. I generally respect that and leave them alone. But if they're just sitting there and they, they're there and their blood level is like not even there, it's like, what are you doing? You know,
Yeah.
you give them heads up that, hey, you should fix that or leave, or you're going to die. It's simple. And yeah, I mean, it's like I try to be fair. I I generally don't just outright attack. I try to let them know that, hey, because I don't want to fight someone who's not mindset there, but they are there. They're not AFK. They're just there, trying to do their thing, have their little moment of peace. I try to teach um, my house members and other members of the clan that to be more mindful of who you're attacking and how you initiate that fight.
Well,
So,
definitely, and it shows quality of like training and like just basically the respect of the person. So I respect
right.
that.
Yeah. And it's just other things too. Like a lot of times, we try to. One of my other duties is I try to work out problems between houses as well, and because sometimes every now and then you get some disturbances. Someone doesn't like this, or someone feels this person said that, and now there's like some bad blood, and it's like you got to get in there and be like, hey, let's see what's going on and work it out. You know,
Mhm.
that was something I did a lot as a proxy, but as ambassador, um, we have our own proxy that now deals with that more. But a lot of times I like to come in there and help out and let people know, yeah, hey, we're not some cruel authority, and we're here for you, and we try to let people know that we're not these monstrous high ranked vampires that if you look at us wrong we'll squish you like an ant. It's like, no, 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 we're here for you. you know we have an
Kind of
open
like the
door.
Volturi. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
I was just gonna ask you too, compared to like the duties of proxy compared to ambassador, are you finding you have more work or they're kind of similar or
Right. Well, I still kind of do a little bit of both. I try to ease off and let the proxy do their thing, but sometimes I still get involved with some things that are going on within the clan, just but I always get the proxy involved. I try to get her as involved as I am. And one of the things that I would say that it's different is just you know being more a part of setting up training classes, setting up events with numerous houses within the clan, and like I said before, getting information from the bloodline, discussing things with the arch as well. So it's representing my clan, my sovereign's clan, and um, it's just a lot more politically involved,
Mhm.
and of course that means throwing out things inside the COH and our clan meetings that we have once a month with the community, and just paying more attention into all the things that are discussed and making the political decisions in the clan with the sovereign as well. So,
Well,
I-
and like as a new player with like fresh new insight on, you know, the things that could help to foster community evolution and growth, like not only for yourself and your family, but the community. So basically what you're saying is it's about respect in a lot of ways. And I agree with that because it I learned both like the hard way, as my
right,
wife likes to call it. And I
the
find,
hard way. Yes.
when
right,
you get into a conflict with somebody, whether it be good or bad, personal, non-personal, the best way to handle it is be professional in everything that you do. And it
absolutely.
just, you know, do you think there's anything like in general, if you would, some people say, for example, the BL system, I'll be cautious there, is toxic. Like, is there any thoughts on like what Progeny could improve on? I mean, I think all around it's a great system and it's really community based, which is what drew me into it.
Yes, I will say that compared to the former system that I was very much a part of,
Hmm.
the system that I was a part of, it was kind of like all you know is your kingship, your
Definitely.
your and if you're in that kingdom, it's basically, well, that's what you're going to know for the most part. You're not really going to know anyone else outside of it. Um, it's just like a little community you live in. But in PV, that's the thing that I've noticed and have been very much a part of, in that you can see what everyone is saying. You can come together and discuss um, things that are going on within Progeny. There's things that are discussed for rights vampire rights for like littles and for everyone else. And it's like, wow, that's really amazing that we have these conversations. How we don't go on to someone's work shift and attack them while they're working. It's just like, these are things that we discuss and pass into law. It's pretty interesting how we have that system in place, and I think that that's actually a very strong direction for the community of this system to continue on with. I know it's not perfect, but it is interesting because everyone has a place.
Hmm.
Everyone can have a place. And
Finding it might be hard, but you're
yeah,
very correct.
well, yeah, it's growth too. Much like in our clan, we want everyone to grow. I mean, we're not gonna be like, well, you can't do this because we want you to stay here. Or, I mean, of course, if you're like some people in the system in the past, you're not going to have someone sit there and say, well, I'm going to do things the way I want to and destroy all the higher ups. It's like, okay, maybe you don't go. You need
Yeah.
some more training there, and a little more time. But aside from that, it's like, okay, well, for those who show leadership qualities, who show reliability, who show compassion, and can show that they could be a true leader, it's like, look, you're going to get that house. We'll interview you. We'll guide you, and when you can prove to us you're worthy of it, you get that house. And more people come in, and then they have leaders be born from their houses that expand to even more. It really is impressive and amazing at the same time to see such growth take place like that. And I feel that as that process goes on, I really feel that that's a direction I wouldn't change. Um,
Hmm.
Now, some things, I could say there could be more uh, system enhancements, but I'm probably sure that a lot of others feel that way as well. Just to make the system a little bit more interesting on top of how it's already interesting. So don't get me wrong, the system is great the way it is.
Hmm.
But to bring other things like other species, and I remember listening to the podcast before where the source himself had said that there was these new ideas he wanted to bring in, and I thought, wow, this system would be so incredibly, so much more amazing if those things finally came to be in the near future, And
Yeah,
Well, that's
definitely.
going to be
yeah,
amazing. Like, I can't wait.
I mean, absolutely, because it's like, okay, right now we are vampires that hunt other vampires, that hunt each other. And
Mm.
then when there's no fight, we feed on humans. But when these other things come into play, as other species come in, now it's like, wow, you're going to have um, living species going around eating up all the human supply, possibly. You've got hunters or slayers, humans that have weapons that can hurt us, that could just drop in on us when we're in the middle of feeding or something. And it's like, wow. So we can't just be watching out for each other. We got to watch out for these crazy psychotic humans that want to murder us. And then we have paladins. We have like angels and
Totally.
demons. I mean, it's all just the potential of this system. I feel can go so far, and I would love to be a part of that and see how far it can go.
Yeah,
So
exciting new dynamics for sure in this
Absolutely.
vast role playing ecosystem. So a lot of opportunities for a lot of new characters, races to step in, and so it's very exciting. A lot of new storylines for a lot of people.
Yep,
Yeah,
it's gonna be
absolutely.
an exciting as the new year approaches. Hopefully, a lot more epic new enhancements will happen. Like
Yeah.
And we have the new HUD coming
I was
soon.
gonna
So
say, the rumors of the new HUD are coming, so I'm excited
Oh,
to hear
yes.
about that.
Yes, absolutely.
And HUD-based fangs, I just gotta say, it sounds beautiful. So
Oh, I
yeah.
know. You don't have to have a separate Fang system. It's all in the HUD. It's going to be amazing. Harder for those humans to detect us too.
oh yeah, we're gonna keep them guessing.
Absolutely. But yeah,
Definitely.
and that if I could say anything else, I feel the community could also come together stronger. But I recently saw that when Arches got together and they discussed how they were going to solve problems related to certain groups that were causing mass system issues, and
Oh yeah,
I got to see the leadership come together like that, and that is purely amazing. I feel that if we could keep that up, we're going to be a strong community that will get through anything.
well, down times and bad times, they pass. So,
Absolutely.
and it's always something new. It's gonna be really exciting, and it's really been an honor meeting you and chatting with you, and really looking forward to those stories as well. So,
Yes, you have a lot of great ideas, inspiring things that you've talked about. So yeah, it's been a great interview, and thank you so very much for coming and joining us. I know the community is going to get a lot out of this interview. Thank you so much.
Of course, thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure.
and we hope to see you around very soon in the
Yes.
shadows, of course. Have a great evening, everybody.
Good night, community.
Night.
It's getting close. I lose control.